Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to discuss tenant laws in Thailand for foreigners. And this video is going to be for you if you want to live in Thailand or you sign a long lease in Thailand. So you're signing a 3-month, 6-month, or a 12-month lease. This video is going to be for you. Now, this video can be helpful if you're just coming on vacation, you're renting a condo for a couple weeks, even if you're not supposed to do that, but that's what you're doing. Like I said, or my advice with that is if I'm just coming here for a couple weeks for vacation, I wouldn't stay in a condo because lots of times you can choose the wrong condo for really weird rules and you're not going to enjoy your stay. So really go to a resort. That's the best advice I have for you. But if you want to live in Thailand and you're signing a long lease, listen up because we're going to jump over to the other screen so we can talk about tenant laws in Thailand for foreigners. So let's dive into this really fast here. Tenant laws in Thailand for foreigners renting condos. Okay, now I read this to you because this is actually good information starting off here. When foreigners rent condos in Thailand, specific legal protections and considerations come into play, governed by Thai laws, including the Civil and Commercial Code, the Consumer Protection Act, and the Condo Act. So if you want more information about renting, you want to get super anal with this, you can visit the Condo Act in Thailand, you can visit the Consumer Protection Act in Thailand, you can visit the Civil Commercial Code with condos, renting condos in Thailand. If you want to get super specific with this, you can also research the Hotel Act in Thailand as well. The Hotel Act is basically that comes into play is when condos are treated like hotels. And like I said, with condos, you have to stay 30 days and above in a condo. When people rent condos less than 30 days, they're violating the Hotel Act. So you can actually be kicked out of the condo. Plus, the owner of the condo can be fined. So those are just some ways if you want more information to kind of dive into this. Now, before we get into this really quick, just to be basic when we talk about tenant laws, just to be simple, okay? I'm from the United States, for example. The same tenant laws in the United States are very, very, very similar to tenant laws in Thailand. So if you're very good with tenant laws in your own country, they're going to be similar to Thailand. Okay, so what I mean is, if I'm staying in the condo, I have the same rights as the owner of the condo. So for example, if the owner stays here, whatever the owner can do, I can do as a legal tenant. Okay, so that's just plain and simple. Okay. If the owner can come here and smoke, I can smoke. Okay, if the owner can use all the amenities, I can use all the amenities. You know what I mean? If the owner can have a pet, I can have a pet. Okay, now the only way that differs is when you have an agreement or a contract directly with the owner and it's written inside the contract. It's not a side note from the juristic office, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. So just to keep it very basic here, you have the same rights as the owner if an owner living in a condo. There is no separate rules. I have the same rights. Okay, I wanted to share that with you before we jump into this. So let's get rocking here. Now, when we talk about leasing and leasing agreements in condos, for one, written agreements. Always insist on a written lease agreement. Now, I know this sounds like common sense, but I meet so many people in Thailand. I've lived in Thailand for 3 years, and I still meet people that just do handshake deals. Okay, they're not on a lease. Okay, you have to have a lease in Thailand, or if you're not on a lease, you can kind of use some common sense that something's not right, or you're inside some type of scam. You're either involved with some type of condo agent scam because the condo agent has you staying in the owner's condo, but the owner don't know you're there. Okay, so basically the condo agent's taking all the money. So when you're not on a lease, you're you're walking on a tightrope. Okay, so I know it's common sense, but a lot of people still do this, and I still meet a lot of people that are not on a flipping lease. So be on a lease. So always a written lease, but leases get a little bit more detailed. For foreigners, contracts should be in both Thai and English. But note that Thai version is legally binding in case of disputes. So what this means is when you have a lease, lots of times, even I'm in La Casita, when La Casita gave me my lease, it's only in English. But Thai law is the lease has to be in your language. Okay, I speak English, so I have the English version, plus I have to have a Thai version. Okay, you need to push this because this protects you. You need to have 2 leases, one in Thai and one in English. Okay, the reason why is if what it's saying here, if there's a dispute, if I have to go to court, okay, or if I sue the condo, if I sue the if I sue the owner, or whatever the reason we have to go to court, courts in Thailand go by Thai law and Thai language. Okay, so they're going to go by a Thai written lease. So if you don't have a Thai written lease, it's only in English, what's going to end up happening is they're going to show up to court and they're going to show up with a Thai lease that you never seen. You know what I mean? And it's probably going to say two different things. So you want a lease in English and a lease in Thai. Okay, now a second thing with this is that you're going to have a Thai friend, either a Thai friend, a Thai girlfriend, or a Thai boyfriend that will translate this lease for you. Okay, I wouldn't just, if I'm dealing with a condo agent, or I'm dealing with the owner themselves, or I'm dealing with a juristic office, I wouldn't leave it up to them to translate properly. Okay, I just wouldn't. So you're going to need a Thai friend, Thai girlfriend, Thai boyfriend to translate this lease to make sure the Thai lease in Thai language, it matches exactly in English. Okay, your English version is thrown out of court. They're only going to use the Thai lease agreement written in Thai if it happens to go to court. So you want the English version and the Thai version, or if you speak French, the French version and the Thai version. Okay, they're not going to go by your language in open court. Let's move on here. Key details to include: rental amount, payment terms, security deposit, maintenance responsibilities, and termination conditions. You want to make sure your lease is very descriptive of what you can and cannot do. For example, here at La Casita, I live at La Casita right now, and when we talk about La Casita, I'll actually post a video here I did at La Casita that goes over the whole grounds. I view my condo here. We talk about pros and cons. I'll post it here for you. Plus, I'll put it down in the description, and I'll pin it into a comments as a recommended video. That's an awesome video to check out. But when we talk about leases here at La Casita, is you want everything detailed in your lease. Okay, but that lease is binding between you and the owner. Okay, you want to make sure everything's in that lease. Okay, because what happens is what they're doing, they'll get tricky with you a little bit if the place is doing kind of shady little stuff. And I'm talking about the condo complex, not so much the owner. So like I said before, okay, if I'm a tenant, I have the same rights as an owner. But lots of times what juristic office will do, juristic office will come up with their own rules. Okay, they'll come up with, oh, well, if you're caught smoking, it's 2,000 baht fine. If you don't return the car, it's 500 baht fine. Okay, you can't eat downstairs. You can't eat by the pool. You can't drink by the pool. You can't have a beer by the pool. Okay, if like here at La Casita, we have a whole great big grill station. It has a grill station, a grill area. You can sit around and eat and grill, but they'll tell people that they can't use it. Okay, that's violating your tenant rights. So, and these are something separate from your lease. So that's why you want your lease very descriptive of what you can and cannot do. Sometimes they can be very broad. So if they're broad, that means I can pretty much do anything. Because remember, if you know law, if something's broad, there's broad speech. You know what I mean? So, you want it specific, what you can and cannot do. You want it specific to the terms. You want to make sure what your security deposit is. You want everything written in there. Okay, then we're also talking about leases. This is a good time to bring this up. You want to know the owner's name, the full name, especially when you're dealing with an agent or you're dealing with juristic office. You want the owner's full name, you want the owner's address, and you want the owner's, lots of times the owner's picture will be on the lease as well. You want to know all the information of the owner. That way you're not called up by a scam. Then once I have the lease, once I check into a condo, I take that lease agreement and I go down to juristic office and I give them a copy of it. So that way, juristic office knows I'm staying there on the lease in that condo. Okay, this protects me of any type of condo agent scams because the juristic office knows I'm really staying there. Okay, this protects me, okay, and it protects you. So make sure you do that kind of stuff. Let's jump back over. Okay, now let's go to short-term or long-term leases here. Now, with short-term or long-term leases, short-term leases is under 12 months. Now, here they're really kind of talking about, usually with condos, you're going to sign a year lease. You kind of very rarely hear someone signing a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease for a condo. Usually they cut out a year, unless I know I want to stay there 2 years. I can really negotiate, but for condos, give and take, kind of the most is kind of 12 months. You can go over 12 months, but what this is saying is short-term leases under 12 months are common for condos, but still require clear documentation. So that's why I just explained. You want clear documentation for your lease, okay? And you want to make sure that lease is registered within the juristic office. That's the management office in your condo complex. So you want to, if the owner don't take it down there, if your condo agent don't take it down there, you gotta take charge, and you go down there, you make sure that this is done, okay? Or you double check to make sure it's done, because this protects you, okay? Yeah, I'm going to say this over and over and over. There's so many money schemes and scams relating to this in Thailand. And Thailand isn't the only country, it's all over Asia. So, but you want to protect yourself. Okay, now long-term leases exceeding 3 years. Now this isn't so much, this is going to be for more like housing, you're renting a house and stuff like that. It's not so much a condo, but if you have a lease exceeding 3 years, it has to be registered with the land department. Again, it's nice to know this because it also protects you, okay, in any type of scam or money scheme that you're going to be involved with. The more you do, the more due diligence you do, and you cross your T's and dot your I's, it just helps you, okay? You want to be a little bit, you're in a foreign country. The bottom line, you're in a foreign country. Thailand's great, but you're still in a foreign country. So you gotta cross your I's and dot your T's. You gotta do things the right way to protect yourself. You don't want to be caught up to a scam and you lose everything. Now let's talk about payment terms. Okay, let's go to rent. Now this is where we're kind of going to jump around here. This is where kind of ChatGPT isn't 100% accurate with the new laws here in Thailand. Rent is usually paid monthly. We all know this. One thing I want to bring up with rent, I would always pay monthly. What's kind of popular a little bit, and you hear YouTubers tell you this as well sometimes on their channel, is like they'll give you a discounted rate if you pay the entire, if you have a 6-month lease, I give them 6 months up front. They give me a little bit cheaper. Or if I have a year lease, I pay a year up front, and that way they'll give me a little cheaper price. The issue with that is that could be a scam. If I'm paying my whole year lease up front, if we have any type of dispute, if they try to kick me out, well, guess what? I'm not going to get all that money back. 100%. Okay. Then the top one is, it's not so much that I'm involved in a scam. It's not so much I'm involved in a money scheme, is that since I've been here in Thailand for 3 years, owners are always trying to sell their condos. Okay. Even here, when I stay here and I rent here, the owner is always trying to sell this condo right here that I'm staying in. So if they sell it and I've paid a year, they sell it in month 3 and I've paid 7 months in advance, you know, I'm just going to be removed and they're not going to refund me that money, or I'm going to have to fight over that refund. And that's a huge refund for a Thai to give back. They probably don't have that money no more. So go month to month. Don't pay super, just do month to month and do your security deposits and stuff like that. But don't start paying these, I'll give you a year up front. I'll give you 6 months up front. You know, you're really treading water with this. You're really like kind of like in bloody water when you do this stuff. I'm not saying anything bad would happen to you, but you're kind of increasing that chance and for something to happen. But anyway, let's jump back over here to rent here really quick. Landlords cannot demand more than 1 month's rent in advance, apart from the security deposit. Now this is true, okay? Now when we talk about rent, look, the new law under Thailand is they can only ask you for 1 month rent in advance. Now usually they're disguised it as this. They're say, okay, you have to pay your first month, which that's normal because if I come in here, I have to pay my first month. But then you have to pay your last month. So this is what they're talking about. Like if they want me to pay my last month rent up front. So they can only go by 1 month. They can't go by 2 months or 3 months. Okay, when I'm talking about rent here, I'm not talking about security deposit. They can only ask for 1 month's rent in advance. Now let's go to security deposit. Security deposit, a little bit vague here, and we'll get very specific with this. And this is where some YouTubers that talk about Thailand, they give you the wrong advice, they give you the wrong information here. So listen up. put some hearing aids in and listen to me here. Okay. Expected deposit of 1 to 2 months rent, refundable within 7 days after the lease ends, provided there is no damage or unpaid bills. Now, this is true and false here. Now, what this is saying, okay, when I have a security deposit, okay, once I move out, I'm refunded either right then or at least in 7 days. It doesn't take 30 days, 7 days. So I get my deposit back within 7 days. Now, what's popular in Thailand right now, and it's been popular since I've been here, is condo agents or owners will ask for 2 months of security deposit. This is where ChatGPT is wrong. They're saying 1 to 2 months of security deposit. It's not that. It's only 1 month security deposit, not 2. And this is where other YouTubers are giving you the wrong advice. So what happens is you go rent a place and they want your first month, they want your last month, okay, rent. Then they want 2 months of security deposit. So you have to come in with 4 times the rent, okay? But this 2 month security deposit is violating Thai law. So they only need 1. So it's only 1 month security deposit, not 2. So let me prove that to you. Now this article was kind of short, sweet, to the point. They changed the Thai law back in 2018. So this has been in law for 6 years. And you can actually research this very easily. But I love this article really fast. So let's kind of jump into this. Okay, now this goes, when we talk about leases, this goes into the new Thai law. This is 4 things with the new Thai law. Is leases can be broken if you have reasonable reason. So meaning if I sign a year lease, as long as I give you a 30-day notice, okay, I can break my lease. Then this is what it's saying. Now, for reasonable reason up here, okay, what do we mean by reasonable reason? Now, as a foreigner, we're talking about foreigners here. Like as a foreigner, let's say I work in Thailand, and let's say I work in Hue Hin, and I quit a job and I got a job in Pattaya, so now I got to move over to Pattaya. Well, that's reasonable reason for me to break my lease as long as I give a 30-day notice. Okay, same thing. Let's say there's an emergency at home and I got to fly home, but when I fly home back to the United States, I got to stay for 3, 4, 5 months, which would be most of my lease. So that's reasonable reason. I'm given a good reason why I have to break my lease as long as I give a 30-day notice. Okay. Now, another thing that can affect really condos for reasonable reason, like if I wanted to break my lease here at La Casita and I don't get a new job and I'm not flying home for an emergency, okay, how I would break my lease would be I would give a 30-day notice, but I would break my lease because they're violating the Hotel Act. The La Casita is treated like a hotel, meaning people's in and out all over. I mean, that's a huge violation. So I can actually argue that to basically do a 30-day notice, and I would actually win because the condo itself has to abide by all the laws. So that's how I would break my lease here at La Casita, or at least give a 30-day notice and get out and go to someplace else and get back my security deposits and all that jazz. But then what we really want to talk about is the move-in fees. Now the move-in fees are set. This is where the new law comes in. A landlord may only ask for 1 month's rent in advance and a security deposit of no larger than 1 month. Listen to that. They can ask for no more than 1 month's rent in advance. Usually that's your last month. Then they can only ask for 1 month of security deposit. Okay, they can't ask you for 2 months or 3 months. Okay, listen to this. Okay. Then it says that this will eliminate the haggling many people have had to deal with over the move-in period. The bottom line of this, they still do this in Thailand. Okay, they still try to get 2 months security deposit plus your first month and last month's rent. So I mean, for me being here for 3 years. If I was looking for a condo, if I really want to stay there, negotiate. Negotiation goes a long way. Okay, even if someone says, okay, you got to do 2 months security deposit, and I respond to them and say, well, that's not really Thai law. Thai law is 1 month. Then I might even negotiate and say, okay, I'll give you my first month rent, I'll give you my last month rent, which is in accordance to Thai law, plus I'll give you 1 month security deposit. Now, if they don't want to go with that, okay, to me, I would probably walk away, because that means they're already doing things that not the right way. They're already violating law. Okay, so if you want to keep on moving forward with them and living in that complex, you're probably going to have more issues, because they're already not abiding by the law. So that's me. Okay, now a lot of places, once you know Thai law, a lot of places will backpedal. They'll actually do the right thing. Okay, that's what I've experienced. But sometimes they will try to pull it on me a little bit if they think you don't know. Now, if they think you don't know and you're green, and they think you don't know Thai law, they try to get away with as much as possible. Now, another thing you can do is, like with me, I have a Thai girlfriend for the last 3 years. So when I go and do this, I always have her with me. So kind of having a Thai with you, lots of times they won't be tricky with you. They won't try to scam you or do money schemes with you, because you have another Thai there, especially if it's a Thai that you trust. But now let's dive deeper with this, because there is a little bit of huge gray area when we talk about only one security deposit. Okay, so let's go down through this. Security deposit changes. The new Thailand rental laws also addresses two major concerns many tenants have regarding scrutiny deposits. Firstly, the security deposit must be returned in 7 days. Now, this is right through ChatGPT, so they have 7 days to return this deposit to you. Okay, so now we're kind of on that track. So that is correct. Now, the major concern here is this: when they do these new Thailand laws in 2018, they kind of gave a great big loophole to landlords. The loophole is this. Number 4, not all landlords impacted by the new Thailand rental laws. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, when I read this, I was like, what does this mean? This is a loophole, or at least a legal loophole. The new regulations will only be enforced by landlords who oversee 5 or more properties. Wow. Okay, now this is a major loophole. Okay, what this means is this 1 month security deposit, okay, these new laws, these new regulations, it's only becomes effective if a landlord owns 5 or more properties. So if a landlord comes back and says, "Well, I only own 2 properties," okay, I don't have to abide by these new laws. That's what it's saying. Okay, they gave a major loophole here in Thailand. Okay, so let me read this, and I'll now tell you how to get around it, because there is a way to get around this. So the new regulations will only be enforced by landlords who oversee 5 or more properties. Those who manage less than this are not obligated to follow this new policy, but then it says vaguely, kind of in broad speech, but will likely be encouraged to follow it. So technically, they're not going to be enforced to follow it, but they're just encouraged. They're encouraged to do the best thing, but the law isn't going to be there and say, you have to do this or we're going to fine you. Okay, that's pretty much what it says to me. So now this right here is like a major loophole, okay, for landlords. But a lot of landlords now will just say, well, I own less than 5 properties. How can you prove it? The only way I can prove it is I would have to hire an attorney. The attorney would have to do an asset search on them just for me to rent a property. I'm just going to walk away and go to another property. But I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to spend my time trying to research a landlord. But I'm going to tell you the major loophole. Okay, the major loophole is this. Okay, you can get around this. Okay, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. Okay, let's go over to this article right here. Now, I don't know if that's really her or wrote the article. It looks like it's just a picture. But she wrote a really good loophole here. Okay, and we'll go down here and talk about this loophole. Okay, when we're talking about renting and we're talking about the security deposit, now we're talking about the 1 month security deposit, but the 1 month security deposit is only for landlords that own 5 properties or more. If you own less, what they're saying is, well, the landlord can ask for anything. The landlord can ask for 2 months or 3 months security deposit. You know what I mean? Which again, I wouldn't do and I wouldn't pay, because you're probably not going to get that money back. But what's the loophole? how can I get around this? Okay, to enforce the law, to enforce these new laws. And it's this right here. And it's in this paragraph right here, and I read it to you. Okay. And it says, for starters, the new laws only fly when renting from a landlord of business who lets or subleases 5 or more residential units. Okay, now if you're renting 5 or more, you have to abide by these new laws, whether they're in the same building or not. So it doesn't have to be in the same building. They could just own 5 or more throughout Thailand. They can own 3 units here. They can own 2 units someplace else. They can own another unit someplace else. So altogether is 5 or more. Okay, so let's continue. So it's mostly going to affect serviced and long stay apartments. In other words, it will be business as usual for most tenants. But the key thing here is when she says that it's mostly going to affect serviced and long stay apartments, long stay condos. Okay. Service and long stay condos, okay, the loophole is they have to obey the law. They have to obey the new laws when you're dealing with a whole condo complex, okay, not the individual owner, okay. That's the loophole, because how condos are rented in Thailand are most of the time, I'll give you how I rented it at La Casita. Most of the time, when you look for a condo, you're here in person. When you like a condo, you're going into the juristic office, the management office downstairs on the first floor somewhere, and the juristic office is renting the condo to you. Okay, so the juristic office staff, or this number 2, how it works, you go into the juristic office and say, hey, I want to rent a unit here. I really love it here. Then the juristic office will give you a condo agent, but will refer you to a company that the management company of the condo employs. Okay, so if the management company employs a condo agent to help manage the whole complex, okay, that's the major loophole here, that they have to abide by the new laws. Okay, but the great news is, for you, is most of the time you're dealing with juristic. You know what I mean? Most of the time, I'm not saying that it's hard to rent. Own, like for me to go directly to the owner. Sometimes I can find and have relationships directly with the owner, but most of the time people are renting directly through juristic office, because that's how rental condos work. I'll give you an example here really quick. When I used to own my condo in the Philippines, and the Philippines is going to work 100% like Thailand, and it was a luxury condo in the Philippines. So since I was a foreigner and I lived in the United States, of course I'm not living in the Philippines. Of course I'm not going to the Philippines every other month to rent out my condo. So how it works is that as an owner, I can hire the juristic office of the condo to manage my condo for me. Okay, that's how the juristic office makes money, or how the condo complex makes money as well, because they're managing my condo for me. So they're renting it out for me. They're managing everything. They're managing how much I'm making, how many times it's rented out. So they're managing everything for me, but I pay them to do that. Okay. So it's the same thing in Thailand. When you have an owner, the owner is paying the juristic office, and they're not paying them directly to do this. But when basically when the condo is rented, the juristic office or the management of the condo complex will take a certain percentage of how much rent you're charging. Sometimes they'll take a certain percentage. Sometimes they'll just take 1 month's rent. Then that's it. Then you keep everything else. So they have it arranged different ways. But anyway, as an owner, I'm using the management company of the condo, almost like the HOA, like the housing the housing association. Like when I pay my dues for the condo, that's what we call it in the United States. So I don't want to confuse you here, but when I go through that route, and then a tenant comes in, and they're not dealing with me directly because I'm in the United States. You know what I mean? I'm working on other things. I'm working on other ways to make money. So then now they're dealing directly with the juristic office. And even if they're dealing with a condo agent, they're dealing with a condo agent that's employed through the management company of the condo. Okay. All this means is the condo itself has to abide by the new laws. Okay, there is no, there is no loop. They can't come back and say, well, we don't manage 5 properties. They can't use that excuse now because the whole condo complex or apartment complex has to abide by the new laws. Okay, that's how it protects you. That's how you get around the whole, oh, you have to pay 2 months security deposit, Chad. You have to pay 3 months security deposit, Chad. And you expect a Thai person to refund you 60,000 baht. I mean, come on now. I mean, maybe they will, but the chances of a little money scheme happening increases. So that's the loophole here and this is how most of the time things are rented in Thailand. You're going through juristic, you're going through a company they referred you to that the management company hires to actually help manage all the properties here. So once you go through that route, they have to abide by all the laws. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to stick to it, okay? That doesn't mean they're not going to try, okay? You get me on that? And what that means is once they try to get 2 months security deposit from me, no, I'm stopping them. I'm polite. I'm saying, well, no, that's not Thai law. Thai law is only 1 month. But once I say that, they agree with me and then they do the right thing. Okay. Now, if they don't do the right thing, you really have to ask yourself, do you really want to stay there? Seriously. Okay. They're already trying to they're not doing things the right way right up front. So why would you want to stay there? Okay. So that's the long-ended version of this. So we covered rent, we covered the security deposit, utilities. Okay. We're on number 3 here. Utilities charges for condos. Okay, this is the electricity and water. Now, this you may or may not know unless you have personal experience with it. Okay, are usually billed separately. Okay, that's true. Ensure the rates match government tariffs to avoid overcharging. Now, this is under the new law as well. Okay, now basically what happens in Thailand is, and I'll give you an example with La Casita because that's myself. I'm not picking on La Casita here, but that's just kind of what I have experienced myself here in Thailand, here in Hua Hin. So really what it means by electricity and water, these two are billed separately. So when you're in a condo, you're gonna have your rent, then you're gonna have the electric, and you have water. Okay, now the best way to do this is your electric, you're gonna pay directly to the electric company in Thailand. Okay, you're not gonna pay to the condo, then the condo pays electric for you. This is kind of a condo scam a little bit, or a money scheme scam. Same way when you pay water, you're gonna pay water directly to the water company. Okay, that's what it's saying here over here in ChatGPT and this is under the new law here in Thailand back in 2018 that condos cannot overcharge you, because basically what condos are doing is if you pay your electric, they have it set up where you pay, like you would pay the condo the electric bill, then the condo itself would actually pay the electric. But then what they would do is they would double your electric. You're not paying what the real bill is. They're making money through it. It's like they're creating like a middleman there, but they're overcharging you. Okay, that's what it's saying. So when you look for a condo, you really want to make sure that you are, when it comes to electric and water, you're paying directly to those companies. You're not paying the condo. For example, at La Casita, I pay the electric. I pay directly to the electric company. But with the water, my water bill gets paid directly to La Casita. So I pay La Casita. La Casita creates me a bill. I pay La Casita. Then La Casita pays the water company. But what La Casita does, which is a little bit illegal, is they double my bill. So if I, for example, in Hua Hin, if I would pay my bill to the water company only charges 20 baht per unit of water. Okay, but when I pay it through La Casita, besides getting charged 20 baht per unit of water, I get charged 40 baht per unit of water. So my bill's twice as expensive paying it through La Casita. So right there, they're violating this law we're talking about. Now, when I bring this up, for one, the more due diligence you do for a condo you want to live right in the beginning, you can ask these questions. Okay, that way you know right up front if you're going to deal with this. Now, for me, to be honest with you, My total water bill is like 360 baht per month every single month. That's like $10 in USD. So if they're double charging me, they're charging me an extra $5. Okay, so my water bill would realistically be $5. So I'm arguing over $5. Yes, it's not right, but is it? I mean, honestly, it take up a lot of my time to kind of fight against it and report them and stuff like this. Yes, I might win, but is it worth all the hassle? You're always going to pick your battles. That's all I'm saying. With this battle, it's not big enough for me to kind of fight. Makes sense. You got to pick your battles. You're not going to fight every single battle, and that's all I'm saying. Is it's not right, but this is something. If I did my due diligence in the beginning, now when I go off and I want to live someplace else, I want to pick another condo. I'm asking this stuff right up front because that way I'm not going to be double charged again. So that's kind of good information for yourself. Maintenance fees. Landlords typically pay the condo common area maintenance fees. This is always, okay, what is talking about, like if you're coming from the United States, we call them HOA fees. Like if you own a condo, you pay HOA fees every single month. Those are your maintenance fees for your condo housing association fees, whatever you want to call them. I mean, sometimes, sometimes condo owners will want you to pay those maintenance fees just because you're the one using the amenities, but that's usually not the norm. If you're a tenant, you don't pay the maintenance fees. So that's what it's saying here. Landlords typically pay the condo common area maintenance fees, but confirm this in the lease agreement. So all it's saying is make sure your lease agreement is very direct and it's very specific. Make sure it doesn't say something in there that you need to pay this, or you need to, that when you check out, they try to take money from you, or they try to keep your security deposit because this is something you should have paid. Make sure this is specific in your lease agreement that the owner pays the condo fees or the condo maintenance fees. So just kind of dot your I's and cross your T's here a little bit, because there's again it's kind of overkill a little bit, but when it comes down to you moving out and they refunding you 15,000 baht, 30,000 baht, I mean, lots of times these condo agents will come up with little mini excuses why they can't give it back to you. And lots of times they're just putting it in their pocket. They're not even giving it to the owner. I know that's not what you want to hear, but just you got to be very specific with his leases and what's really going on. Okay, tenant rights really fast. Landlords must follow legal eviction procedures. Now we're kind of getting into eviction. Now we're kind of getting into you're being kicked out of your place. Now here in Thailand, you can be kicked out for several reasons. And lots of times in my experience, it's not always because you're not paying your rent. Lots of times you didn't do your homework in the beginning and you got caught up with some type of little scam, either from the juristic office or mainly from the condo agents themselves. Lots of times the big eviction thing is really through condo agents. Lots of times the biggest scam here in Thailand is around condos is you go to the condo agent, but you won't sign a lease. You just have a handshake deal, okay? And you might pay them 3 months in advance for 3 months to stay there. Then you only stay there for a month and a half. Now they're coming to you and kicking you out. And then they say, well, the owner has somebody coming. But when they kick you out, they don't refund none of your money. Okay, they just kick you out. Okay, but the mistake you made is what I said in the beginning. You're not on any lease. You don't have no documentation you being there, so you can't fight it. You know what I mean? And so that's really a scam. But how the scam's going, really the condo agent is really scamming the owner, because what's happening is you kind of got caught up in this scam, but you paid the condo agent the 3 months rent, but the condo agent never gave any rent to the owners. So the owner don't know you're in their room. So that's basically what's going on. They don't know you're there. So this happens a lot in Thailand, a lot. Okay, this is why, like, the more you know, the more you're on leases, you go to the juristic office, they know you're there, they have a copy of your release, you know who the owner is. You're making it harder and harder and harder to be caught up in any type of scam. Okay, but the true eviction process. And the eviction process in Thailand is going to match almost identical to the eviction process in the United States. So if you know the eviction process in the United States, it's the same thing over here in Thailand. If you don't know, you're in for some new information. So how does the eviction process work? Okay, now if I'm an owner, if I'm going to evict you, well, guess what? I got to go through court. I got to go through court proceedings. I got to get the court eviction. The court has to evict you. You can stay in my place even if it takes 3 months to evict you. You can pretty much live in my condo for 3 months rent free while I'm going through the whole court proceedings to get the court to legally evict you. That's how it works in Thailand and inside the United States. So the bottom line is, you as a tenant, the owner can't just show up and evict you. Okay, if I wanted to be a ding dong a little bit and push the law, I'm going to force them to go to court and legally evict me. Okay, then they can't do nothing to me. I can still be here. They can't show up and change the locks and change things and just do all this stuff. They have to go through a civil proceeding. Now, if they're not following the law, that means I would have to do it as well. I'd have to go hire an attorney and do it as well. But that's just kind of giving you, if I don't really foresee it really going that far. But the only thing that does happen a lot in Thailand is if you're called up with any type of scheme. If you're called up, they're not so much scamming you, but the condo agent that works for the owner. The condo agent is scamming the owner because they're taking all the money from the owner. Then the owner don't know you're living in their condo because they don't stay in Thailand. They don't live in Thailand. So that's really the main, one of the top scams here in Thailand that you have to protect against. But it kind of goes along with eviction, because if they're doing that, the agent is trying to get you out before the owner finds out. The agent's trying to kick you out. That kind of goes into another thing I kind of talk to people that's happened to people here is that the owner, if they have a lease to the owner, sometimes if the owner wants to get you out, and sometimes this will happen is the owner will say, oh, I sold my condo, so you have to move, but I have another place for you. So they put you in a new place. They charge you more rent or higher rent than what you were paying for their place, but they're not proving that they sold their property. Okay, the same thing, if they're kicking you out on terms that they sold the property, they have to show you proof. Again, they can't just say, I sold my property and have you move. Like for me, if I wanted to fight it, they would have to show me proof that they sold this property to actually legally evict me, or legally have me leave. But again, like these are things that it's not going to happen all the time, but it does happen. Again, termination by a tenant, to kind of move on. Tenants can terminate their lease by 30 days notice. Now, this is a big thing that maybe we should have talked about earlier. Like if you want to terminate your lease, you can give her 30 days notice. Okay, this is huge, and this is under the new law. Like you can give a 30-day notice if you want to terminate your lease. No, again, we did talk about this, so I won't go into it that much. I kind of had a brain fart there. We did talk about this. So you can give a 30-day notice. Like if I got a job in a new area, if I had to fly home for an extended period of time, or if the condo complex is not following the rules, you can break your lease for that too. But you have to give a 30-day notice. You can't just break my lease and leave in 2 days. So you have to give a 30-day notice. The fair contract terms is, again, this is kind of getting into like any unfair clauses like in your contract. Like even if you sign a contract, but that contract violates Thai law, like this is what it's talking about. That has to be fair contract terms, like having excessive penalties, unilateral changes by the landlord are invalid under Thai law. So even if you sign a contract, but that contract is violating Thai law, you still are protected because it's invalid. Okay, and then this could kind of come from like if I'm a tenant here at La Casita and they're telling me I can't use the amenities, well, no matter if I sign a contract or not, that's all invalid through Thailand. But that's under the unfair clauses they have in Thai law. So you're still kind of protected even if you sign something that's saying you can't use like amenities, or I can't use the pool, or I can't use the grill, I can't eat downstairs, like stuff like that is kind of like unfair clauses. That kind of happens a lot, or happens pretty regularly in Thailand. The use of condo facilities. Again, I brought this up. Tenants are entitled to use common facilities. Common facilities are all the amenities on the condo complex. It's a swimming pool, it's a gym. If it has a sauna, it has a steam room, it has a grill, has a barbecue station area. Okay, whatever is common area, you can use. That's what I said in the beginning. If an owner can use it, so can you. Landlord responsibilities, maintenance and repairs. The landlord is responsible for major repairs, maintaining a condo in a habitable condition. So all the major is from the condo owner themselves, not you as a tenant. Tenants are usually responsible for minor in-unit wear and tear, unless otherwise stated in a lease. Again, it's going back to that lease. Like anything that you're gonna have to pay for, like minor, it has to be dictated in that lease, just to protect yourself. And the reason why I bring this up is a lot of Thailand leases, especially English version, it's only like one page. It's a one-page lease. It's not like a lease coming from the United States and the lease is like 5 pages long. You know what I mean? They'll just give you like a one-page lease and it's just very straightforward to the point, but it's not very specific. And again, okay, if they're giving you a lease in English, you need a lease in Thai. You need both of them. You need to sign both of them in Thai and in English, and you need a translator there so you know they say the same thing. So like tenants, for me, little wear and tear is like the light bulbs burn out. I go and buy a new light bulb and put it in. Okay, that's really the only thing. Like the other day, maybe like a couple weeks ago, like the lock on the door, it's an automatic lock. It automatically locks, but the batteries died, so I went and bought the batteries for the door. That's for me. That's minor wear and tear that I would pay for myself as a tenant. But anything major, everything comes from the owner. No, if the I forgot. If the air conditioner breaks, I don't have to fix it. That's from the owner themselves. But that's a big repair. Legal ownership verification. Verify the land ownership of the condo. We did talk about this. Is that anytime you sign a lease, you want the owner's full name, address, and picture on the condo contract. You want to verify that the landlord actually owns that property. That's why I told you also, after you sign that lease, now you might be signing a lease with juristic office themselves, but if you're signing a lease with a condo agent or the owner, okay, you need to do your due diligence and be proactive and take that lease and walk down to juristic office and give them a copy of that lease and let juristic office know that you're living there, you're staying there in that condo complex. That way it protects you. It protects you against any type of scam that the condo agent could be doing or the owner themselves could be doing. It just makes everything legal. You know what I mean? Dispute resolution. If disputes rise, dispositive disputes or utility overcharging, tenants can file complaints with the Office of Consumer Protection Board. That's the OCPD. So again, this is good information. If you have a dispute, if you don't like what the condo is doing, if the condo is overcharging you, you got utility overcharges, like I gave you, for example, La Casita overcharging the water bill, you can file a complaint, and you can file the complaint with, and I put the cursor here, for the Office of Consumer Protection Board, the OCPD. And in my opinion, I haven't went that far yet, but it is good to kind of complain because things do happen a lot in Thailand around foreigners, around condos and contracts. That's one of the reasons why I'll probably be leaving and I'm not going to renew my lease at La Casita and kind of go someplace else, just because they don't do the right things here. But again, if you want to take that step and really complain, you can that's where you can file the complaint. Kind of the last tips here to kind of wrap this up is always inspect the condo. This is kind of common sense, but a lot of people don't do it when they come in because a lot of people don't do it because people just think people's going to just do the best thing and they're going to do the best thing for you and they're not going to screw you. They're not going to screw you over. But always inspect a condo. When you come in and you inspect a condo with the agent or the owner, always take pictures, or even now with the phones, even now is actually walk around with a video. I have some friends do that. Like when they check in or they check out, they'll actually walk around and take a video of the whole place, and that actually protects them, because especially when an agent tries to don't want to give back their security deposit, but they'll make up, oh, there's a scratch on the wall, and they're making it up. But then you have footage of your condo where you're saying, well, we walked around and I filmed everything, and I have footage, there's no scratch. You know what I mean? So it does protect yourself, because it really comes down to this security deposit. A lot of owners and a lot of agents want to keep this deposit. They want to, any excuse you give them to keep your 15,000, 30,000 baht deposit. Sometimes it could be, 45,000, 50,000 baht deposit. Any excuse, they want to keep it. They don't want to give it back. And they're not even fixing it in the condo. It could be a little scratch on the wall that it could be fixed for 500 baht, but they want to keep your whole deposit over it. You know what I mean? So just do your due diligence when you check in and check out. But the best thing is pictures and video. Insurance we didn't really talk about. Consider rentals insurance. Okay, now you can get rental insurance in Thailand, because lots of times, even if the owner has insurance, it only covers their property. It doesn't cover your property. So even for myself, I bought everything in this condo, except for the refrigerator and the bed and the air conditioners and the table and the couches. That's all the owners, but everything else I own, or like these computers and stuff like that, and all the dishes and everything in the kitchen. So if you own a lot, do think about insurance, because just in case, that covers you over any type of fire, any type of theft. People do break into condos, so you don't want your condo one of them that gets broken into. At least everything is covered from insurance. Then lastly, they say local customs. Local customs, really they're talking about just respect condo rules and cultural norms, as this can affect your relationship with the landlord and the neighbors. So you just kind of have to respect that the whole condo rules. I'm not saying the little juristic rules they kind of try to enforce, but the whole condo rules, because lots of times the whole condo rules, for example, they could have quiet hours. They could have quiet hours to like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Then quiet hours happen again at 10 p.m. So those are like the common rules that the whole condo complex is going to go by. And then when they do the HOA meetings, their yearly management meetings, that's where all the owners get together and set the rules. So, that's going to be communicated within there as well. Another example would be like here at La Casita, on the weekends, you're not allowed to work on do repairs on the weekends. And they're not allowed to even work outside and do repairs on anything on the weekend, just because it covers more noise, and it's kind of like weekend hours. Okay, you like if my air conditioner stopped working on Friday, well, it's not going to get fixed until Monday, because they can't come in for the condo rules. They can't come in and fix things over the weekend. That's just a big rule here, just to keep the noise down. It's the weekend vibe, stuff like that. That would be a whole condo rule as well, to kind of give you kind of aspect through it. But other than that, my friends, that's it. I mean, this was kind of like long-winded. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but hopefully this helps. If you have questions and comments, comment below and I'll help you out. Other than that, peace, blessings to you, and I'll see you in the next video.